And if you like the idea of a modern murder mystery Jane Eyre, but with like 75% more sociopaths, it might be the book for you. Hey guys, how's it going? Today is Wednesday and it is currently around 1:30 in the afternoon. I have had a really great work week so far. I have managed to write 3,000 to 4,000 words on various client projects every day, and also take care of a couple other smaller tasks in the afternoon, which is fantastic. I love having productive weeks like this. This morning I was on Lisa's live stream and knocked out the words I needed to get done for the client book I was working on today. And I just went and grabbed some groceries and had some lunch, and I am going to take this entire afternoon to work on my book, because I have not worked on Dragon Balloon since I last vlogged. I'm really only getting in a couple days a week on that book. I really had hoped that doing the whole 1 hour in the morning thing would work for me, and it was for a little while, but you know, when I get up in the morning and I sit down to work, I just need to work on the things that are actually under contract. I feel obligated, and it bothers me when I'm not doing that. You know, the flip side of that problem is obviously that when you spend, you know, 9 to noon writing fiction, and then you come back and maybe work on a little bit more fiction for a couple of hours, you don't really want to write more fiction in the evening. You get kind of burned out. But that is just kind of I guess the problem, or an issue I have with being a full-time fiction writer. And it's a problem I'm willing to deal with because I love writing fiction and this is what I want to do for a living. And when I look back on how it used to be before for me, for example, when I first started writing my first book, I was a teacher full-time, and I was actually living overseas in South Korea, and I taught kindergarten in the morning and elementary. I was teaching English, so elementary aged kids in the afternoons into the evenings. Some evenings I taught as late as 6 or 7, and then I would come home and have dinner and sit my ass down and write 2,000 words every night, no exceptions. That's how I got my first draft written. So really we're all doing different things. We all have different jobs, different family stuff to deal with. Maybe you have kids and that makes it harder to find time to write. We've all got struggles. And I guess mine is that I'm trying to write fiction on top of fiction, but I can persevere through that just like you guys all are, and just like I did back when I was teaching full-time and I still wanted to write a book. So all that is to say, I have decided I am not going to let what I do in the morning and in the afternoon affect my ability to get my butt in my chair and work on Dragon Balloon at least a little bit every day. All right, so I'm taking this afternoon to get caught up on that book, and I am still in fun and games, and I know what scene I get to write today, and I'm very excited about it. I'm actually hoping to knock out a few scenes, but I'm also getting to the point where I think I need to spend a little bit of time now developing my side characters. So far in this book, the characters I have a really strong grasp on are the main character, Logan, her older sister who died before the start of the book, her brother, her father, and one of the friends that she is going on this quest with. And that's it. If I'm being honest, all of the other characters are still super vague. Like, I just kind of threw some names in my Save the Cat, you know, what's it called, program, and I kind of know their ages, and you know, a little bit of their personalities are coming out in the scenes that I'm writing, but I don't know them very well, and I don't want them to feel flat. It is totally okay if you have characters who are not well developed, who are very underdeveloped, when you're outlining, when you're zero drafting, even when you're first drafting. You can't be expected to have these fully developed characters, an entire cast of them, from the word go on your first draft. Like, we can't put that kind of pressure on ourselves. But I do think I'm hitting a point where these characters are just going to become more and more integral to every scene, where I need to know them better And I need to make sure I'm doing what I'm doing right now to ensure that they aren't flat and then they aren't, frankly, just sidekicks. So one thing I want to make sure that I do is, first of all, and this should really go without saying, but I want the cast of this book to be diverse because I want my stories to feel realistic, whether they're contemporary or fantasy or sci-fi or whatever. They need to feel realistic. It needs to feel like the real world, and diversity is reality. So anyone who wants to strive for reality in their fiction should also be striving for diversity. I also don't want to accidentally write stereotypes because I have blind spots. We all have blind spots, and I don't want any of it to feel forced. So back when I first wrote Olive and the Backstage Ghost, I ran into this problem. It's embarrassing to admit, but I was a good ways through the outline, like probably 3/4 through, and I stepped back and kind of looked at the characters and realized that a few of them were tokens. I certainly hadn't done it on purpose, but that didn't change the fact that I had done it. In specific, I'm talking about the side characters who are the rest of the cast in the show that Olive stars in. It's a vaudeville show. She's the singer, and so the other side characters are like a juggler, a fire dancer, an acrobat, things like that. And what I did was I scrapped the characters I had come up with and I started over. And because dreams and like the blending of dreamland and reality is a big theme in Olive, I looked up dream interpretations for each of those roles. Like if you dream that you're trying to juggle something, what does that mean? If you dream about fire, what does it mean? If you dream you're flying, what does it mean? And so on and so on. And I started with that at like kind of the core. And I spent about an hour on each character and I just started asking myself why. Like, why are they drawn to fire, or what brought them to juggling? And the more questions, the more why and how that I asked, the more their backstory and their personality revealed itself to me in bits and pieces. And yes, a lot of that included certain things about their identity. I mean, it's all tied into identity. And by the time I finished, it was like a slow evolving in my mind of I just started only seeing a personality and not seeing like a physical image of the person. But then it kind of like came into place the more I wrote. But I think each character turned out to be more unique and original and real feeling because I started with that core question about what made them them, if that makes sense. And I want the same thing for Dragon Balloon because the side characters that I'm dealing with here are all members of a fandom of a specific thing. And they all met online, and this is their first time in this book. This is their first time all meeting each other in person. And, you know, if you were to reach into a fandom online, any fandom, and pluck out 6 or 7 kids or teenagers, they aren't all gonna be white, straight, and cisgendered. It's not gonna happen. That would be unrealistic. Again, diversity is reality, so I want the group to reflect that, but I don't want to do what I accidentally did in the first version, the early outline of Olive, and write characters who just end up being stereotypes. I hope that makes sense. And I kind of am trying to think of a way I can do that with the characters in this book. I'm not sure if I'll go the dream route again because dreams were so like specific to Olive and that story in particular. But for example, each of these characters has something in particular they love about this fandom they all share. And there are scenes with them in cosplay, so I could consider who they choose to cosplay and why and what that means for them. I think that would be a good place for me to start picking at their personalities and drawing that out first, and then hopefully getting a better more realistic like forming of who they are as a whole as I go. I'm rambling. I don't know if any of that made sense, but that's my goal for today. I'm going to try to play with these characters and also get a couple scenes written. It is now 1:45 because I have been rambling for way too long. And I think what I actually want to do first, because it's been a couple weeks since I've had a treat, is go to Starbucks and get a latte, and then I will be back here and we will get down to business. By the way, guys, I am listening to the audiobook version of The Wife Upstairs by Rachel Hawkins. And if you like the idea of a modern murder mystery Jane Eyre, but with like 75% more sociopaths, it might be the book for you. So I've kind of covered this before, but there are a lot of features in the Save the Cat software, and you know, obviously the biggest and best feature is the beat sheet here, which you can customize to be as big or small as you like. I like it really big. I like to have lots of scrolling room. But over here on the left side of the screen, you can see there's all these different little sections. We've got, here's the beats, but then there's also character sheets, locations, things, relationships, setups, and payoffs, which is really interesting. I'm gonna go ahead. I think I've had, oh no, I haven't added any characters. Wow, I am slacking super hard. I don't even have my main character entered. So I'm gonna go ahead and set up these sheets. Another cool feature is that while you've got all this stuff going on, you can go up here and click on I'm in full view, but you can choose to only focus on the board, the beats, the title logline, which is at the top, or your notes and attachments at the bottom. So I'm gonna go ahead and do beats and let's see what happens. Right, so that makes the whole screen what I was showing you before. I can look at my beats, but then I've also got the character sheets, the settings, and locations, and so on. So yeah, I think I'm gonna at least create the pages for these characters, for Logan and her sister and the main characters I mentioned, but also for the side characters, and at least start the little ramble, even if it's just one sentence, like, here is what character from this fandom this character loves to cosplay, or why they connect with this character, just to give myself, like, plant a seed, I guess would be the best way to put it. Plant a seed for each of these side characters. And then I'm gonna try to keep those in mind as I'm drafting my fun and game scenes for today. So character pages first, and then we're gonna write some scenes. Okay, so in 90 minutes, I wrote a little sketch for 7 side characters. I had 6, but then I thought of another character I wanted, and I added him too. I definitely would not say they are anywhere close to being well developed yet, but there's a seed. I planted a seed for all of them. Something that I'm going to think about when I write all of their interactions that I hope will help me figure out who they really are deep down. And then I wrote 2 scenes, zero drafted, 2 scenes in the fun and games. And the first one was fun. It was good. It was one that I've had in my head for a while. And then the one after that was kind of one of those transition scenes where the characters are really just kind of going from this place to this place. And I didn't really know what would happen in between. And then I came up with something, because I remembered, I told myself, you know, you shouldn't have, there's no filler scenes. It can't just be about getting from point A to point B. What can happen, like, emotionally, what happens? And there is a good conversation here between Logan and one of, like, the B story character who's going to be, like, the most important to her. There's a good conversation there and a good reveal and a good emotional moment. And then I was like, well, something exciting has to happen. As a reader, what do I want to have happen here after this kind of like slower paced, more emotional beat that I went through at the beginning of the scene? And one of my side characters, who I did work on developing a little bit, kind of took the wheel, metaphorically and literally, and is driving them straight into a crisis. And that is the end of that scene. And I love it. And now I have lots to think about for what I want to do with the next scene. So anyway, yeah, Fun and Games continues to be fun. I am determined to work on this book at least a little bit every day. Even if it's just 30 minutes, I think I could get at least half of a scene zero drafted, if not the whole scene. Zero drafting just goes so fast. It's just a matter of sitting down and opening the document and doing the thing and typing the words. 30 minutes every day at least. And if I do that, I'm looking at my board right now, I have 6 scenes left in Fun and Games until I hit the midpoint. By the time I film my vlog next week, I should be at the midpoint. Let's see if I can hold myself to that. Midpoint is the goal for next week, and then we'll get into the bad guys close in and the second half of the book. All right. I hope your writing is going good this week, guys, and I hope you have a great weekend. And I'll see you next Friday with another vlog.